Yeah.
It's competition for us, but it has been. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Does this mean you do not need your Google Chromebook there?
Well,
Get it out of your way.
I'm good here. I'm just trying to find the right network to hook into. Is it the OTech or OWTC? Oh, I couldn't see that sitting right there. I'm looking over here.
That's this is the whole thing, Paul.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So you're getting into your email. All of the,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
That looks a lot better.
It sure does.
What about that line out there?
He's gonna touch it up.
Like you can see it all the way down
You sure can.
Brent and the black box with the
Yes,
text.
he said he'll touch it up with whatever they do. Cause I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I mean, it doesn't look nearly as good as the one on Colette. I mean, with the lines.
Yeah, 'cause he even said that he already touched up the Brent thing, so I might have to give that another look see.
You can see the line all the way down.
You're painting someplace? Oh,
Out in the lobby. You gotta do-
That
Yeah,
up,
this,
that
all
up.
this is new.
Yes,
Yesterday, right?
I hadn't even
Yes.
noticed behind me yet.
that's yesterday. That's why it smells kind of interesting in here.
I thought it smelled like an Apple store.
Really? Like, it kind of
new.
smells like, I don't
Smells new to me.
hopefully it doesn't smell like deadly chemicals, Paul. What do you think?
You know,
As the director of facilities.
it just, it's okay.
Okay.
It looks really good.
Wow.
You know, you guys inspired me because I think I was Chad, I think it was you I talked to one day that said, who redone the electronics in here? He said Cache Valley, and I bet I've paid them $250,000 last year since you've done this.
Wow.
They've been doing
All stuff in
conferences for
here.
us.
Are they gonna give us a little commish?
They should.
It sure
Yeah.
is a lot nicer, isn't it? Having that like integrated, it's so much nicer.
So much easier.
I told everybody at work, I says, you know, those 900-pound projectors that are hanging from the ceiling
Yeah.
that cost $7,000 or $8,000. We can buy 90-inch TVs all day long for
Yep.
2,000, 2,100.
And they look better.
Work there. The only thing is we have a company policy, we have to buy certain ones.
Oh, really?
So the Chinese can't spy on our meetings,
Oh, certain TVs.
certain TVs, yeah, certain brands
So where they're manufactured, is that?
and what chips are in them. Works so much better.
Yeah.
That's a little plug and play, just like you have going there. Spend 30 minutes trying to set up for a meeting.
Yeah. So much
The
nicer.
camera underneath, just like that. Basically copied you guys.
Yeah. We like to be copied. Now, we copied somebody, didn't we, Tina?
Yeah, Davis Tech.
Davis Tech.
Well, I'm not gonna give them any credit.
Yes, we prefer not to. Instead, you're gonna record.
It's recording.
Oh, okay, great.
Already?
As soon as you turn the Zoom on, it records.
This is great. You can cut my stuff for me, so.
Yeah, we can trim it. I had to test all my,
While you're sharing.
Tina and President have given me like 4 PowerPoints that they'd like to share during this meeting.
That's gonna be, oh, I feel like I'm on the Starship Enterprise. Oh, not as easy.
She printed me a paper agenda because I'm doing this, so.
Paper never fails, does it?
It does not. Doesn't fail me.
They had us on Skype, and then they upgraded and said, let's go with Zoom. They upgraded, went to Skype Business/Government. And then they upgraded and went to Microsoft 365
Oh, and
Team
Teams.
Center or something.
Wow.
And now we're back to Skype.
Are you really?
And that's been probably in the last 24 months.
Oh, my gosh.
Do they just like it because it's easier to use or what?
I don't know. they'll have problems. But Skype seems to be the one that's most user friendly.
Is it even when you have to share stuff and? All right.
So I don't know if they know what they're doing or we're just their guinea pigs.
Yeah, the return to space,
Small, Matt.
they talked about.
How are you, Paul?
Looks like blue's the color today. I guessed right.
Wow.
So disappointed. How are you, Chad? Good.
I told Chad I'd just sit here and keep my legs underneath the table, maybe no one would notice.
I like it.
I do too. That return to space talked about
You
the
never know.
philosophy between SpaceX and NASA.
Well,
And
third
instead,
year,
SpaceX it was,
third excuse.
let's launch as many rockets as we can. And if they blow up, they blow up, but we'll learn something every launch.
Yes.
And NASA was like, engineer, 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 engineer.
So,
Maybe let's do a launch. And they said SpaceX was exactly opposite. We'll just burn through rockets and learn every time we.
That'll develop after that.
and a couple members have to leave.
Apollo 1 failure where they killed the 3 astronauts
Yeah.
during a test.
Yeah.
And
I know you can do it.
and boy, the bureaucracy went from this to that then.
I know.
That's what I say, even though Elon Musk is basically a competitor with us, he's really streamlining the system. That's been good.
That's good.
If you ever,
So that-
once when you're in Florida to go down to
Here's the plan. Yeah.
Navarre, where those 3 astronauts died.
Yeah.
On sacred ground.
I have one,
We did go to,
just in case.
see, we did go to the Kennedy Space Center. We didn't-
You can-
I can go get another
Haven't
one.
been down there for a few years. I used to work down there quite often,
Here to serve.
down for a week or so.
Thank you.
Years, but that little spot over there, they've got a little monument there. It kind of tells the story.
And it's the actual launch pad, isn't it? Is it the launch pad?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
it's,
Doing extremely well. Oh, I'm glad.
there's not much left there.
How many of you is there?
It's a big,
I see all of you.
creating a few things, a little monument.
I think I can do monovision now.
Monovision?
It's where they correct one eye to see far away and one eye to see up close.
Will side benefit or is that just an
Well,
unfortunate consequence?
Because this eye is blurry.
Yeah.
My brain has just adjusted and it ignores this eye. I think I could do monovision now.
Really?
So
Deb wears one contact for the same reason.
that's, yeah, that's what my eye doctor said. To give it a go. What I've instructed everyone, and they're gonna hold me to this as well. In terms of those that are presenting. We have some board members that need to be done. I've said we're gonna be done by 5. So in order to preserve, the most important thing is discussion and questions for our board members. Everyone who's presenting will give brief summaries. So we have time for any discussion and questions. That's the most important part. Is that the board members are talking, not us. To give you an update, it's probably what we should have been doing all along, but it will be much more. succinct.
Thanks, guys.
The items for us.
So our, the items that we're most likely gonna need some discussion on would be plan budget, master plan, pathways feasibility.
I think pathways feasibility will probably be the longest one. If any, the Ogden one is, the Ogden School District one is really just an update of what we've already discussed. The business plan really is just specific targeted areas that we're going to address this fiscal year based upon the strategic plan that was approved by the board. There may or may not be discussion on that. I do have a brief presence report at the end, and again, people have to drop off before that. I really do think that we can get you can hear me, can you speak so we can see if your mic is working?
I couldn't hear you a second ago, but I can now.
Yay.
Yay, indeed.
Corey, do you have my cell number in case you need to text me?
I sure do.
Okay, text me if you have any questions or concerns.
Okay, will do. And I apologize for not being there in person today. I won't make a habit of it.
No worries, and that's why we're happy we have this technology.
I can monitor the chat too.
Okay, oh, and you can send things through chat.
Okay, fantastic.
Let me forward you an email having a hiring event on 12th of July.
Yesterday.
They're calling it a skilled labor nutrition.
Send it to me.
Everybody's in a tie with me.
You look
Awesome.
great.
I'm usually the only one.
We have one of our employers.
Look, they're
One of our
losers.
employer
I was
partners,
gonna say only
smaller
losers
company
for ties,
says,
but Chad hasn't.
I want, had to do with our manufacturing technician certificate, which is an entry level certificate to get into manufacturing. And then it's your employer partners with you to complete the rest of your certificate.
Does look good. Huh?
Said, we're tired of losing all our good employees to Northrop. So we're gonna take every one of your graduates from that program.
Those pictures like
the rest of
magnet ties on or
that, which cracked me up.
How are they fixed?
You know, we need 2,200 people.
Slide it onto this clip.
That battery company that's just moving in, Logan said they need 3,000 people.
Saw that.
Thermo Fisher, 500. That probably needs 50. Not enough population in the state.
So Corey Ann and I were in a meeting last Friday. And Corey Ann said that the economist says for every one person that wants to work, there are 4 jobs. This is just raw numbers of those that want to work and number of job openings. When you talk about alignment, can they do it? So that's what I address. So the University of Utah finished this slick myself and said, so we're going to release this and we have a newsmaker breakfast. You're on Zoom and we invite the press to talk about this. I'm like, sure. And I'll share some other data, but I think key takeaway, the Tribune picked it up. is, hi, come on in.
Sit anywhere you would like.
Okay.
Cost is one thing.
that's the perfect spot because then you're on the camera.
Oh, there.
Factor.
Yeah.
All of higher ed, including our short-term certificates. It's time here.
It's not time to do it.
Meeting with Congressman Owens. It's that track apprenticeship group and we were talking about. I know this may not be. Hello.
How are you?
We are.
Oh, Christine doesn't get to sit next to you today. That's a fine. I get to see you.
Wonderful wife.
You should move it around.
We gotta have. Reforms, I thought that.
Good, we have assigned seats, so we know.
Bingo.
Okay. So I mean, Corey shared something that someone has a work visa to work in Snow Basin and there's not enough snow. They can't work anywhere else.
Really?
Under current statute. Yeah. So the other day, because I go in once a week to your shop. And that's fine. You have great staff. So I'm standing there, and it's rare that there's a line. A little bit of a line, and I was in no hurry. So someone saw me standing there, and they come running up and they go, "Oh, I can help you." And they were phenomenal. They were incredibly helpful. And then I looked down and they have an Ogden-Weber Tech student name tag on.
Oh.
And I go,
He was my student.
I go, "Do you go to Ogden-Weber Tech?" And she goes, "Yeah, I do. I love that school."
Did you tell her?
And I said, "I work there." And
She didn't know.
everyone back behind was just going, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." And she goes, "Well, what do you do there?" I said, I'm the president. And she goes, "Oh." And everyone starts kind of laughing. And I said, you were so professional. I would never have guessed that you were a student intern here.
Oh, very good.
Never.
I just hired another one yesterday from here.
And
It's
I,
like my fourth one,
I
and
needed
it's
to, and I forgot her name.
the one that helped you,
Huh?
Chloe.
Was it Chloe?
That's my student.
She was phenomenal and she knew how to run the point of sale system. She rang everything up. And I'm going, you're not here job shadowing, you're getting work done.
One more, Matt.
The one, the last one I hired yesterday. She had 100%.
Just one more.
National exam.
So close.
Who does 100%?
100%. I know, that's what we were talking at the school too. She does 100.
No wonder I went back.
Like a,
I hired her
he was gonna try to.
fourth one year.
Close.
We used to go into Christine's shop and we'd come out with this little bag of medicine and a great big bag of, I think they were black licorice things you used to sell. Like 2 pounds of black licorice and one little bag of medicine.
I walk
Licorice
in,
was the better deal.
I walk in and don't look at all the snacks she has right next to the line.
Yeah,
It's a fun place. It's,
thank you, President. That's too funny. Talk to her about that.
and then when I was in a couple of days ago, the pharmacist said, hey, you work at the tech college? Yeah. I want to talk to you about that technical high school you're doing with Ogden School District. Hey. It's awesome. I love going there.
Is she tall?
Short,
Pharmacist. Mary, that's Mary.
shorter, excuse me.
Yes, of course.
Did we give you the menu to read?
Yeah, I'll read the menu. We'll get started.
Awesome.
And while we're waiting for one more,
Let's see.
Just one.
we're hoping
Two.
we have to tag Corey in, but I texted Mark and do we know if Don's.
Said he was gonna be here this morning.
The menu is. So this is Austin Young. He's one of the our chefs or our culinary arts student, and he said I started the program in January. I am also the work study. I am also the work study for culinary arts program. I spent a few years after high school pursuing a degree of political science at Weber State, and found out that wasn't what made me happy. I started this program, and after my passion, I have fully embraced everything that comes with it. I recently started a job at Tona Sushi, very good place, and I'm learning new things every day. That's awesome. My hors d'oeuvres that I have made is a spinach and artichoke crostini with bacon and cranberries. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. That's awesome. Help yourself. Sorry for those that are zooming with us. But we do appreciate you being here, Corey and Slade and Jared. You know, we'll have some for next hour if you want to stop by. The other student is Jake Williden. What's in place is more than a French term. I wish I could speak French. I'm sure I slaughtered that. Does anyone know how to say that to put in place?
Mise en place.
Mise en place. There's my
Yeah.
French degree used for the very first time.
Thank you.
Je ne parle pas français.
Very nice.
Well,
Yeah, I can put them on.
oh,
speaker.
good,
Will that
okay,
work?
'cause I'm like,
Sure. Okay. Mise en place, is that Corey? Is that right? It's more than a French term that means to put in place. For me, it is a state of mind, and the program is helping me to apply that in everyday life. A goal I have after completing this program is gaining skills from it is to become a chef and own a food truck. Thank you for this opportunity to serve you today. My hors d'oeuvres that I have made are cucumber caprese with a balsamic reduction. The culinary team prepared Palmer's a puff pastry snack. So it's isn't it great to hear from the students that this is what we're here for. This is the stuff. So honor our students by eating. All right. So we're waiting for one more, and we'll be able to to, oh, there's Mark. Mark, are you there?
Yeah,
Oh, perfect. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We sure do appreciate it.
I'm sorry I can't be there, but I can listen.
Oh, are you in an okay spot? Do you want us to let you know if we hit quorum and you need to jump off, or are you okay for an hour?
I'm okay. I'll just I'll put me on mute and then unmute if I need to.
Oh, perfect. Hey, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, so in attendance today, Corey Anderson and Slato Pikins on Zoom with Jared Haynes joining us from USHE. We have Vice President Burchell with us, Christine Jacobson-Ware, Paul Widdison, Tyler Call, President Taggart, myself, Matt Wardle, is keeping us all organized. And we are grateful to have Lily Martinez with us and her instructor, Diane Swartz. So thank you for joining with us today. And
Maria Milligan,
Maria.
Director for College.
Perfect. Thank you, Maria. I should know that, but glad you're here as well. So small in number, but we have some great things happening today. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes held on April 28th, 2022. Hopefully you had a moment to review those. And if there isn't any discussion, we will accept a motion that's actually written on the screen up there for approval of those minutes from that meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you,
Board of
Paul.
Directors.
I will second that.
All right, thank you, Christine. Are there any further discussion about those minutes? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, we are excited again to have Lily with us today. And Vice President Burchell, are you gonna tell us about Lily?
Thanks, Chair Wardle, and I'm really going to turn the time over to Diane Sorensen. Diane's our program coordinator for our CNA program, and Diane will introduce our students. So, Diane.
So I am very excited about introducing Lily, and I have a couple of things to share about her. She is an Ogden native. She's from here in Ogden, but actually she is a Northwestern Shoshone. And so, she is, I love that she came in some very Native American attire. So she's a college student here at OTEC, but also at USU, Utah State University. So she's doing a few programs there and just barely has finished she's in clinicals for the nursing assistant program. She started the nursing assistant program on April 19th and is now in the clinical phase. So she'll be doing her clinicals and taking her state certification exam in the next week and a half. So yay, we'll have another graduate in this week, week to week and a half. She became interested in health services because she was a lifeguard for many years. Training other lifeguards, helping people became her mantra and her love. And she became interested in the nursing program. But as she started that, decided she would actually like to be a medical physician. So she plans on going to medical school. So very exciting. She is, one thing I noticed about her in the classroom was that she's very, I would say acute. She was very attentive to what was going on in the classroom. She always willing to learn a little bit more, but not only that, always willing to help another student. So I loved that. It's wonderful when you see the students helping other students. And my very favorite part that I saved for last is that Lily has accepted a position to become one of our TAs in our classroom and will be starting working for us in July. So that's so exciting. So I'll let her tell a little bit about herself also.
I guess, as you know, I'm Lily Martinez. So I study biology right now at Utah State University, and I'm a research assistant for the Learning Sciences program. And they are a program that works with my tribe to study Native education and how learning science works within the Native culture. And I'm really happy to take those skills and introduce them into when I become a TA here.
So the goal is to become a physician and where do you hope to practice?
My dream is to live in Washington.
So where are you attending classes? Are you taking classes from USU at their main campus?
I take 2 classes at the Brigham City Extension Center, and then the rest of it's online. But coming in the spring of 2023, I have 2 classes I'm going to be taking at the campus. I'll be going there once or twice a week.
Wonderful. And the Brigham City campus is beautiful.
What you're doing is awesome. Your biggest challenges.
That's true. It's very admirable, especially because you're doing so many things at one time. And I think it's excellent that you get your CNA license, you do everything else to build you up. That makes you a better physician because you're able to see all the different roles of what makes the health community work together to help make that patient healthy.
So much for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This inspires us.
Yes, true.
Sitting meetings and pass motions and whatnot, but the great things you're doing in your life and the way it will really serve others is.
So Lily is one of our students that we're honoring. I need you to honor our culinary students and please take a big plate to go.
Yeah, I will. Those sound amazing.
You know, from student to student, we want to make sure that you recognize Diane as well. Our nursing assistant program has the demand for nursing assistants is through the roof as it is with most things. Diane has worked really hard. She not only manages the program on our main campus, but we have satellite CNA programs at Lowman High School and Two Rivers. So we partner with both school districts and it's a full CNA program the college runs at those locations. So
Potentially.
thank you.
You're welcome to stay and hang out with us. If you would like.
We're not real
Can't make any
excited.
promises, but if you'd like to go and fill a box here, that's great too. All right, thank you, both of you. President Taggart, business plan for fiscal year 23.
So trustees at our April meeting, you approved our strategic plan. The business plan is how we take components of the strategic plan and make sure that we have annual objectives that we report quarterly to ensure that we're actually moving the needle on our strategic plan. If we don't have a strategic plan that exists, it's on the shelf and we go, hey, did we do anything? We are very targeted in making sure that if you take the time to approve a strategic plan, we can report to you on how we're doing. In the business plan, we've included some sections of the strategic plan showing the long-term objectives and the State Board of Higher Education's strategic plan initiatives. We have 6 key factors that we want to address over this next year. The first one is clock hour to credit hour transition. This is very, very significant. In the 51-year history of Ogden-Weber Tech, we've been a clock hour only institution, which measures seat time. And the decision was made, and we support this, that all USU institutions should use the same currency. We can't have half of them be clock hour and half of them be credit hour. We will still be competency based. We will still focus on short-term training, and we will work to ensure that transitioning to credit hour does not increase the cost to the student. But this is a big, heavy lift over this next year. It is going to allow us to do some really important things. One, is going to help us streamline some things that there's some extra burdens with federal financial aid when you're a clock hour institution. It don't exist when you're a credit hour institution. It'll allow more seamless transition for our students who are on a pathway. Actually, both ways. If they're coming from a university to us or our students to a university, using the same currency is going to help. So we've put in some strategies on what we need to do over this next year to make that clock hour to credit hour conversion, which will begin in fiscal 24, but it's going to take us a year to get ready. We have a goal to increase our new admissions by 5%. If we are not growing our enrollment, retaining them and completing those students, we cannot meet the economic demands that are taking place right now. And so we have to continue to grow. And we've shared with you some of those strategies.
You think 5%? How am I trying to say this? You could probably do more than that if you had. I'm sure the demand is greater than 5%, isn't it?
So we have been growing close to 10% over the last 5 years. And so we feel that this, with the strong growth that we've had, we feel that this is still a stretch goal. We hope we can exceed it. One of the limiting factors is our waiting lists. And we have programs, we have more programs with waiting lists than ever before. And the way you take care of a waiting list is not through early leavers, it's through students completing and going to work. And so that's.
I'm on the board call now.
The next one is to increase the number of our underrepresented student enrollment by 1%. You're gonna see that's really, really low. Along with Salt Lake Community College, Ogden-Weber Tech has the highest percentage of students coming from historically underrepresented groups. That's 35% at Ogden-Weber Tech. We're getting close overall to Ogden City, and we're not quite there. We exceed the county. And so as you get closer and closer to matching Ogden City, that to move the needle, it gets smaller and smaller. I'm going to use it. I'm going to talk to our rocket scientist. As you get closer to the event horizon, it slows down. And so that 1%, well, this past year it was 2%, and it was tough to get to 2%. So it'll be 1%. And we put in the raw number in there to show how many additional students we need to add. One of the biggest factors we have seen both pre-pandemic, but certainly post-pandemic during the endemic, is that student wellness is a priority for the entire system. And that includes our students. And so we are working on making sure that we have better student wellness plans. Student wellness includes mental health, but it includes a lot of other things. And that part of that is reducing barriers to allowing students to complete. When the student drops out, it's so much harder for them to come back. So our goal is keep them enrolled and making sure that they can complete. So we will have a comprehensive student wellness plan that we will be developing. In addition to going from clock hour to credit hour, that means we will have a brand new tuition model starting in fiscal 24. Students won't pay by the seat time, they're going to be paying by credit hour, which is something we've never done before. This not only impacts Ogden-Weber Tech, this impacts all 8 technical colleges and the technical colleges that are housed within Eastern, Snow College, and Salt Lake Community College. So we're working with the system right now in how we are going to convert from clock hour to credit hour. That's going to involve members of the Board of Trustees and how we develop that, how we communicate it to students. We'll be developing a student tuition committee and ensuring that the credit hour tuition for the following year, if there's any increase, that it's an increase that is measurable to make sure that we can cover costs. And that it's not an increase because, oh, this is a good time for just for us to increase costs. And so we'll be working on that. And the final one, which is just so important, increasing enrollment, increasing access for our historically underrepresented groups means nothing if we are not increasing the number of graduates. If our certificates are truly employer validated, students have to complete the programs and go to work. It's one of the areas that we are working on to ensure that if a student does have to leave early, they stay connected with us and they still complete the program working with our employer partners. So that's the overview of our 6 strategic plan initiatives that we want to cover this next year. And we'd love any of your feedback or questions that you might have.
There is a team that helps to make these students complete the program. and they drop out.
Yes, and it's actually a college-wide process. So it's not only our student services team, it's our faculty. It goes down to our vice presidents when our students leave and they fill out a leaver survey. And if they are scored, if they self-identify a low score for why they left and they want to be contacted, they're contacted by Vice President Burchell or Vice President Schwenk, who needs to be excused today. They get a call from a vice president that says, tell us about your experience and why you left.
We had a student. That made me crazy. I called Natalie so quickly and I said, you need to call Vice President Mojo. And I kept calling the student, like why? I kept trying to help her. But I think school tried to too. I don't know what success, but she never returned any of his phone calls. That was difficult. So we doing that. Do we go to their house?
Well, hopefully we have intervened and made sure that the student's ready for an externship long before they start an externship. And that is unusual for a student to complete the entire program and then all of a sudden disconnect during their externship. But it does occur. And so we want to make sure, again, with that holistic student wellness plan, that we're trying to look more holistically on what are those other barriers.
And in this situation with the student, briefly, she had said because her high school counselor, she was graduating, had told her it was not part of what she was going to do in her future. So she quit right in the first week of the externship. So it made no sense to she completed the program. And I was trying to explain to her that you've gone this far. I don't care if you're going to work as president of McDonald's, you want to be a pharmacy tech and finish the program. Education is important in every aspect. She said she was led that direction from a high school counselor. So I think that was the program.
And that's valuable feedback because then that's not what the high schools want. I can tell you, both of our superintendents, all the principals, they want completers. And so that's a good opportunity for us to educate those counselors. Any other comments or questions? Just to quickly, as I was looking at it, there's these outcomes are to go from clock hour to credit hour, increase new admission by 5%, increase underrepresented students by 1%, create student wellness program, develop credit hour tuition and fee implementation plan for fiscal year 24, and increase certificate completion, which is so critical. So thank you, President. We'll entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 23 business plan.
I move to approve the college fiscal year 2023 business plan.
Thank you, Christine. A second. Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by this? The same sign, we're in aye. Okay, there's no opposed. We're good to go. Making this up as we go along.
Hard to break old habits.
A little bit. All right, Vice President Call, would you like to talk about the fiscal year 23 operating budget?
I would. Thanks, Chair Wardle. And appreciate the opportunity to share this with the trustees. I'm not going to go over the entire memo that I submitted in the board. I just was going to touch on a couple of highlights, if you will. I've summarized how the budget is changing from the current year to the proposed budget for next year in the memo that's in your board packet. But I did want to indicate or share that this increase in student tuition and fees is probably the first time we've increased our budget. We did not increase tuition to students, but we've been budgeting so conservatively for the last several years that we finally got to a point where our tuition revenue was higher than what we've been depending on in the budget, and thought we probably need to bring that more in line so there's not as much of a variance at the end of the year. But I want to make sure you understand that that does not represent any kind of an increase to the students. It's just that we've held the line for at least 5 years on not increasing tuition. And so enrollment's gone up since that time, student head count. And so we've brought more revenue in, and we're just recognizing that revenue now. You'll see that there's also an increase. I wanted to drop back all the way down to non-operating revenues. You'll see that state appropriations is going up $2.3 million. That represents just under 10% of an increase to our state appropriations, which is really pretty substantial. I've outlined there the different areas that we're receiving that money, and what portions coming for salaries and benefits. 1.2, nearly 1.3 million was given for enrollment growth and capacity. That information was also summarized in the business plan that you just approved under the budget section. So aside from that, I don't know if you have any questions, but this is.
Are you experiencing the same pains that all the rest of us, or is it?
We have lost some employees because either industry has taken them, or some of our sister institutions. We've lost some of our folks to Weber State University. I'm still speaking to Brad Mortensen. I won't tell you what words are shared. But one of the things that we have done, which we shared with you in our last report, was that we have revamped our entire salary structure and our salary ranges and ensured that we have a competitive wage. That is helping with both retention, because we had salary compression. We were bringing new people in at a higher rate than people who'd been here a long time. We're eliminating all of that. We've made those adjustments, and our recruitment is much, much better. We wish we could fill those positions quicker, but it's taking a little bit more time. Our retention rate, we feel, as we compare to and benchmark ourselves against our peers, has been very, very good. That speaks to the success and the engagement that our employees have in the mission of the college and what it does in our community, and the level of employer support we have. But it does mean that, and this has not been a one-year process. This has actually been a 3-year process where we've made incremental steps so that we could make this final leap. We had to do it in 1 year. We couldn't do it. So the board has supported us making those adjustments. And now we feel a very, very validated and competitive wage and salary range, not just for this next year, but for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. The part of that 10% increase in our total budget is the 5.75% increase that the state gave state employees. Now, that is not across the board. Some of our staff got more, some got less, depending on what their performance was. But that's a big chunk of that. That's the largest investment that the state has made in salary equity, probably since I've been employed here. It's 28 years.
Questions?
Trust, but there's a level of trust with the preparation of this budget, but things have gone so well, and just we, as a board leadership, Corianne and I go through this budget modifications on a monthly basis, and trust with the approach the college has, Tyler and his team, and making sure that funds are spent well and carefully. So with that, we'll any other questions for Tyler? We'll entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 23 operating budget.
Move to adopt the college fiscal year 2023 operating.
Thank you, Christine. A second. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the approval of the operating budget, say aye.
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 Okay.
Don Salazar has joined us. Rosie Salazar.
Don, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining today.
Oh, thank you. I've been listening. But I was in the affirmative on the first motion and this motion.
Thank you. All right, Vice President Call, we have some exciting developments with the
Yes.
master plan and the pathways building.
Yes, thanks, Chair Wardle. So it's been 25 years since the college has updated its master plan, which has been that's quite some time. Probably about some time Tigers been. And this was a good undertaking, a really good project, and as is required in system of higher education policy, you really are to maintain master planning, capital facilities master plan as part of that policy. We want to be able to request new money. There's also a feasibility study that is required as part of the process when you're going to ask the legislature for funding for a new building. And we decided about a year ago, right around this time, that this upcoming year, we would submit for a new building, which we've since labeled the Pathways Building. And if you look at the link attached to this memo and in your board, you actually can review and look through that feasibility study and see some of the renderings and the location that's proposed for the new building. But we met with and hired Method Studios, an architect firm, the president's cabinet administrative group, met with them on a regular basis for several months, just reviewing the college's master plan or strategic plan, the vision of the college, and 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And the master plan was developed in such a way that we have a plan to replace certain buildings on this campus every so years, because we do have an aging campus. I was thinking that the average age of the buildings on our campus was somewhere around 40 to 45, but I talked to our facilities director and he says it's closer to 55 or 60 years. And so it's timely. We not only need a new building, now, but we're going to need other new buildings to replace some of these other buildings that have been around that were never necessarily built for what they're being used for now. We've done a good job of repurposing them. A lot of these spaces weren't designed for what we're trying to do. Nonetheless, it'll be an exciting process, and this master plan feasibility study will help the college moving forward in our request of a new building, seeking your approval of the plan. Happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Comment on it. It would be so great to have that sort of a visible structure from Washington. I think all of us have run into people in town that really didn't know what was here. They drive by and see the sign, but don't know too much about the campus. So I think there'd be a lot of other benefits that would come to the college with that building. So I take.
And Matt, what you're saying is one of the first things that we discussed in our planning meetings with Method. I had one today. We have people that say, I've lived in Ogden my whole life. I drive by here. It's a beautiful entrance. I didn't know this campus existed. The reason that occurs is that when this was a youth correctional facility, they didn't want anyone from Washington Boulevard to see it. It's why it has this tight circular security ring. This is an educational campus. It should not be hidden. And we have this beautiful front entrance. And so it's why our original master plan never had a building there. It was just going to be this big grassy, very difficult, very expensive thing to water and maintain. And we didn't have an adequate plan for the rest of this beautiful 110-acre campus. This is going to open up the campus to the rest of the college. In most of state buildings, if you can get 40 years out of a building, that's the average useful life of a building for the state. And when we have 60-plus-year-old buildings, the cost to maintain those continues to go up. It actually costs the state more to maintain these old buildings than for us to build a new one. The feasibility study, this is the biggest ask we've ever had. It's a 120,000 square foot building. And we estimate right now that's a $62 million building. I'm not blinking, and I'm not ashamed by requesting that, because we have the numbers to show that there is this demand. And to ask for anything less is not going to meet the needs of this community with so many other buildings that are so close to failing. So we have a critical need, but more importantly, we have the student demand, and we can show the economic impact for the individual and to our employers by being able to take care of some of the waiting list demands that we have. So we're very, very excited to have an overall campus master plan that really is phased in for, this is the next 5, 10, 15, 20, and then 20 plus. It's built in, which we have never had before. We just kind of had this map and going, well, we don't know the rationale behind why they thought this building should be there and why isn't this building being replaced? It was old when the original master plan was created. So we're very excited about it. We've shared this and got a lot of feedback from our faculty and staff. And now we will start that process once it's approved of going through and having this ranked by the State Board of Higher Education. And if it's ranked high enough, then it goes to the legislature for funding.
Does not affect our budget.
It's not.
No, it would be additional funds received. Definitely need some additional money in order to fund that 60 million. I wish.
Any other discussions? We'll entertain a motion for approval of the OTech master plan and pathways building study.
I move to approve the college master plan and approve the pathways building feasibility study.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you, Don. From the gallery. Okay, Don seconds. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Very good. President Taggart. Along looks like change of direction with the Ogden's cool building.
This is actually
Exciting.
Some very, very exciting thing. At our February meeting, the board approved a plan with Ogden School District to remodel our existing observation and assessment building that we purchased from the state. They were going to remodel it and put a technical high school in there. Both the local board and our board approved that, and we were working on that. As they were looking at the cost to remodel, they looked at what's the efficiency of us demoing the building and just building a brand new building. And so we said, well, that's different use of space. We probably have to take it back to our board. We're not opposed to that as a president's cabinet. As we've been discussing what our current demands are right now, if we were to be funded by the legislature for this new pathways building at this next legislative session, we wouldn't be putting students in there probably for another 2 to 3 years. We have some needs right now where we may need to keep that observation and assessment building and remodel it for current programs. So we looked at our campus master plan and said, one thing that we have is land. Let's keep the observation assessment building for college use and provide a ground lease agreement with Ogden School District to build a new building that's actually on that inner loop, so it's more connected to the main campus instead of being outward facing to Monroe. And it looks like, well, who owns that? Is that even part of the college? Vice President Call has spent a lot of time with Utah State University. They are the leaders in ground lease agreements where another entity builds a building on their ground. We maintain ownership of the ground. And this is according to state statute and Board of Higher Education policy. Building must be of mutual use. They will provide space for us in this building. And at the end of its usefulness, the building becomes property of Ogden-Weber Tech. We have an instructional agreement that if any time Ogden School District says, well, we want to put a daycare in there, we want to put our facilities, or they want to use it other than how we've agreed to, the building reverts to Ogden-Weber Tech. So instead of demoing a building and we gain a building, we're now going to have 2 buildings. And as we mentioned, this does not change the instructional impact. We met with Superintendent Rasmussen yesterday. This gives them greater flexibility in terms of how they build this. 5 acres was too much land for a 18,000 square foot building. And they would be responsible for all the property around it. This way they can right size it and be responsible for less land. We still have some agreements that allow us to say, hey, listen, we have final say on how this building looks. It can't look completely different than the rest of the college community. And they're looking at how can they xeriscape and do some other things to reduce costs of maintenance. Almost all of these students will be co-enroll in college programs. That's the whole purpose, is high school students can complete their high school diploma requirements and complete longer programs before they graduate. Since the board approved this, there was a brief news article. We have been getting phone calls here saying, my child will attend the new high school on your campus. Where do we sign up? They're not calling the school district, they're calling here. And then I had a conversation at Wasatch Pharmacy with a pharmacist saying, when will that building open? So there's a lot of community interest in this. We're excited about it. And so it does fit our master plan. If the board approves it, the Board of Trustees, President or Vice President, I just promoted you, thank you. Vice President Call will be presenting this to the Facilities and Finance Committee of the Board of Higher Education on July 15th. We've shared this with our USHE partners. They're excited about it. And again, because we have a template from Utah State University, we don't see any issues with the Board of Higher Education approving this as well.
The state legal have to go through it.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Chair Wardle. We will get their final approval on it. The previous agreement, which was not a ground lease, we had already gone through that process, but kind of restarted with the ground lease, which has already been vetted because, like I said, it came from Utah State University, their legal team. So, but we will still run by the AG's office and the FCM and then review it for finance and facilities group.
That's a much better option, in my opinion, than having a jail.
Yes.
That kind of spruced up.
They would be doing kind of what we've done with all of the rest of this campus and converting jails to instructional facilities.
That's exciting.
So money wise, is that once again?
That's going to be funded by the school district.
School district.
Oh, okay.
And the school district just got permission. They're using some state and local funds, and they just got permission from the State Board of Education, which oversees the K-12 system, to use the funds instead of for a remodel for new construction. So when we shared this with them, they said this is going to be much better. We know that demo costs, new construction is expensive, but demo costs can get very expensive, especially if there's asbestos involved. There's a lot of abatement that has to take place. There would be a lot of, it's actually easier to give them a different piece of ground and them to do the power and sewer connections fresh and trying to retrofit a pad. And they were concerned that it was so far removed from the main campus and all the students are going to be attending classes and they're going, they're so far away. How do we get them closer? So this solves a lot of issues.
That wouldn't be a cheap building to remodel, just the way it's built.
No. All those cells are load bearing. So there was no way to, they would have had to chip things out and put still support structures in there. Slade could explain it.
Fill in all the tunnels that were dug out.
Well, and we want our students to know, look at this brand new building. They anticipate, Ogden School District anticipate 300 students the first year, which is 150 students on A day, 150 students on B day. They're going to have to go to a lottery because they're going to have more than 300 students wanting to attend. We're excited about this. At least 2 other technical colleges have approached me and said, we're watching this very closely because we are going to do the same. What an awesome model.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion for the approval of the master plan.
I do approve. I move to approve the proposed ground lease with Ogden School District.
Second. Oh, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed. Perfect, thank you. Our last item of official business is the telecommuting policy. Save that's for last. And that would be Maria. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Wardle. So we've included a copy of our draft telecommuting policy in your board packet. This was, of course, motivated by the pandemic, but we had a few other motivations as well for putting this in place. We wanted to increase flexibility of our student services availability to our evening students. So many of our student services are closed at 6 p.m., but we have more and more evening students who then can't take advantage of those services. And we found that one of the best ways to offer that is to have staff who are available remotely and offer that support and increase the hours that we can be open. One of the other things we noticed is that especially in the current job market, there is an increasing demand for telecommuting options. And we think that this is a good way to recruit more people and we need them to fill some open positions. And then third, we have a lot of our students who are operating in a hybrid environment and instructors trying to both teach in-person students and handle the questions and concerns of online students is a lot for them to do. And so if we can have some instructors who are working remotely, specifically with those hybrid remote students, we think it'll go a long way to helping their educational experience be more positive and productive. But we did, as we were drafting this, there were a few key goals that we knew we could not sacrifice, had to maintain. We have to maintain the security of student data, which means we're using only college equipment. People who are working remotely are in a secure environment, not a Starbucks where people can see students' personal information. Second, we wanted to retain our high-performing staff without sacrificing our ability to track performance and outcomes. And then most importantly, always, is we want to make sure that the student experience is top of mind and the focus. And so part of that comes in the telecommuting agreement, which is not included here, but will be required of everyone who is telecommuting, where they and their supervisor work out what their schedule is, how they're going to track performance, and make sure that they're following up on what the student experience is like. So that's where this came from. Do you have any questions or would like more information on what we're doing with this proposed policy?
I could have done this by Zoom.
Right there, yeah.
Telecommuting.
It looks like a first class.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's good that you're keeping up with the times because the times are changing and this is exactly what students want. Moment.
Questions? Okay, we'll entertain a motion for approval of the telecommuting policy.
I'll make the motion to approve the college policy 524.34. Telecommuting.
I'll second.
I can't even.
Second, thank you, Christine. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Get to read those from that.
So exciting.
Very good. In the forwarded board packet, we sure appreciate Tina and all her hard work to just provide all the information. There's that informational. We don't typically take time to discuss these items unless there's questions or comments, concerns about those things. Sounds like President Taggart has a report for us.
Sure, there's a few things I'd like to share with you. Right now, our students that you met, our state gold medalists, are with college staff in Atlanta, Georgia, competing in the National Skills USA competition. They've been posting pictures on social media, and they're just the most talented group of students. The competitions finish up tonight, and there might be a few early morning tomorrow, and then their awards program will be tomorrow night, Eastern Standard Time. But we will send out a message on the success of our students and those that receive medals. A few weeks ago, the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah reached out to me and said, we have prepared a policy brief doing some research on Utah's economically disadvantaged students in higher education. President Taggart, did you know that you have the highest percentage in USHE of economically disadvantaged students? I said, I wasn't aware of that, but that's great news. And they were kind of taken aback and they said, oh, well, there are a lot of challenges when in helping economically disadvantaged students. complete programs. And I said, I'm aware of that. And we have a strategic plan initiative to increase access and help students complete, because we are the quickest way to meet that social contract of higher education, to help people get the skills they need to go to work and meet the needs in our community. And they said, all right, we love this conversation. Will you participate in a policy brief breakfast that we have with the press? It'll be over Zoom. And they invited, they invited President Huffelin from Salt Lake Community College. And it did receive some press. The Salt Lake Tribune wrote a wonderful article that highlighted what we're doing here at Ogden-Weber Tech. If you'll go to the next slide, Chad. So you'll see that the percentage of economically disadvantaged students by the degree granting institutions, you can see their percentage. Salt Lake Community College and Snow College have the highest on the degree granting side. And on the technical college side, Ogden-Weber has the highest at 31%. And again, we have been working on access and affordability and meeting the needs of our community. And so I was not surprised that that's where we're at. Go ahead and go to the next slide. It might be interesting. You go, well, why is Weber State at 16.2%? Why are they closer to where Ogden-Weber is? And the interesting thing is that Weber State University actually pulls more students from Davis County than from Weber. More students from Davis County attend Weber State University than Weber County students. And President Mortensen shares that data. He says this is where our students are coming from. This really just talks about education improves long-term future for everyone, what the individual benefits are of education and what the societal benefits are. And I'm preaching to the choir here. We have great business leaders, we have great community leaders, and we already know what this does. We know the return on investment when someone goes to work changes not only their lives, but the lives of their family, and it helps build prosperity in our community. It does. It decreases crime. It increases GDP. You have a lower unemployment rate. You swing someone from being on state benefit, public assistance, to now they're paying taxes. That's a huge, huge swing. Reduced reliance on public assistance. It lowers healthcare costs and it decreases the poverty rate. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So how are we doing? Georgetown University Center for Workforce Education did a study of 4,500 colleges by return on investment. And they released that just now in 2022. In their summary, this is the scary part. There's a sentence in there that says, an average of 60% of college students across institutions earn more than a high school graduate after 10 years. However, 1,233 post-secondary institutions, or 30%, more than half of their students 10 years after enrolling are earning less than a high school graduate. 30% are worse off by going to college. Got an issue.
And they got student debt on top of that.
And they have student debt. They have student debt. So if you run the USHE institutions, now they didn't do all 16. They only had data for 10. They only had data for 2 technical colleges, Ogden-Weber Tech and Bridgerland. So when we ran this data, we wanted to see where, go ahead and go to the next one. We wanted to see where are we at Ogden-Weber Tech after 10 years. After 10 years, we're number 2 out of the system at 219,000. That's the earning power greater than if you just had a high school diploma. We're not one of those 30% that it's negative. 219,000. Weber State is number 1. They are $15,000 ahead of us. I shared this with another group and they said, well, that data is just wrong. You're telling me that an Ogden-Weber Tech student after 1 year or less and after 10 years is earning more than a University of Utah graduate. That's a Pac-12 school. And I said, yes, and I'm going to tell you why. They complete their education and they go to work. They're earning money faster. Now you'll see at the 15 and 20 year, we're still beating a lot of the degree granting institutions. They do catch up at 30.
And they're paying less.
And they're paying less. So
That's part of
we're
it.
go to that. Now, if you look at Weber State, you'll see that the predominant degree that's driving that is not a bachelor's degree. It's an associate degree. And that is their healthcare programs. I am a walking poster child for that. My wife and I, when we finished our associate degrees in nursing, were making so much more than our friends that had bachelor's degrees, those that had finished one. We bought a home. We were able to remodel it. We flipped it. We bought another home off of associate degrees. We were doing well enough that when I said, honey, are you okay if I take a 25% cut in pay and start teaching? Are you okay with that? She said, we'll be fine. And that's the beauty. The ability to get to work faster. 80% of all people who go into higher education go in for the sole purpose of, I want a better job. I want a better job. And holistically, as higher education, we haven't done a good job of helping them get there very well. So this speaks very, very loudly that, yeah, we have economically disadvantaged students, but look what we're doing with them. Go ahead and go to the next one, Chad.
Look at the average age of entry,
Ours is 29.
29.
I'll bet that's coming down.
And so this, they're only pulling our adult students out of this data. They are not including our high school students, which is a third of our students. If you include our high school students, you would see that drop down to about 25, 26. So another metric that they use is called an earning price return. They say, what is the total cost of them to go to school minus any grants or scholarships? Doesn't include student loans, but you take the total cost of their education to complete versus their earnings. On this one, we sorted it by every one of the 4,500 institutions that they surveyed. Ogden-Weber Tech is number 65 in the nation. We're the top 1% for earning price return. The earning price return is 1,291%. If you have to put things out of pocket, you're going to get a 1,291%. There's not another state institution, including the for-profit and private institutions in the state, that come close to the value of an Ogden-Weber Tech certificate. I wish my 401k right now had a 1,291% return on investment. If someone came to you and said, give me that money, you go, this is a scam. This is a scam. And I'm so proud of what our folks are doing and that we have data to back that up. Now, that being said, we have a lot of work to be done. We are very proud that if you compare our data for our historically underrepresented groups and our economically disadvantaged students, their graduation rates are on par or they're very close to our other students. Challenge is that it's still not good enough. Our graduation rate isn't where it needs to be. And I don't have to go to Vice President Burchell and say, are we measuring the right things? He comes to me and says, we're not measuring the right things. We have to do a reset. So when we start sharing data with you next year, you're not going to see a lot of things in green. You're going to see a lot of red, and that's the right way to start when you do a reset. We have enough students coming in that we think we're retaining them, but we have a pretty big hole in our bucket. We have too many students leaving. We're going to stop that because we're focusing on measuring the right things. We have to make sure that we're meeting that social contract with the student and the economic contract we have with employers and the taxpayer to make sure students graduate and they go to work. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And so when you see President Mortensen, he loves to share this. I gave this data to him. You'll see on his signature line, if you get an email from him, Georgetown University ROI #1. And I've said, I think you're not right. I think you're just slicing and dicing. You're #1 on one, but you're not even close to #1 on another. But I'm a Weber State alum. I'm okay if he wants to put that on there. And you better hope that next year that they can still keep that $15,000 average. The other thing that I want to share with you is that why does Ogden-Weber Tech salary wages, why are they so high? And that has to do with advanced industries. Right now, there's a big concern in the state with a shift and there might be a recession, the Silicon Slopes might move. Because they can move, they can offshore, they can relocate overnight. It's office space. Manufacturing doesn't move overnight. Defense infrastructure doesn't move overnight because they have capital assets that are in place. That's why the economy in northern Utah is more flexible than, say, Utah County. Advanced industries, which includes manufacturing, pays higher at every degree level, at a certificate, an associate, and a bachelor's and master's level. They pay higher. In advanced industries, which has a large concentration in our community, our tech certificate students are making as much or greater than a non-advanced industry bachelor's degree. It is, but that's okay because it builds wealth in the community, and that helps pharmacies, that helps all the other non-advanced industries grow. That's how you build prosperity in a community. And so, yeah, we do talk a lot about healthcare and manufacturing. Well, healthcare exists because we have a strong, vibrant community based upon manufacturing. The wealth in our community has always been built upon either transportation or manufacturing. That's kind of where the Eccles and all the Brownings, and that's the people who founded Northern Utah, that's where they made their money, and it's still true today. And so it helps with construction. It helps with a lot of the other things that we do in our community. And that's why you'll see studies that will show the lowest income gap of any community in the nation is Ogden. Now, we have some challenges, but the quickest way, because we have tech colleges and we have great associate degree programs at Weber State, we can turn the corner in Weber County quicker than any other community. Just have to make sure we can get them in the door, keep them, and get them out the door. So we shared with you at our last board meeting, Vice President Virgil had you approve the manufacturing technician program. And at that point, we had just under 12 employers that said, this is it. We will, any one of your graduates, we want to hire them. We're going to tell students, if you are potential people, if you want to work for us, you need to complete the short-term program. We will pay for them to complete the full program.
Or we've also heard, we will hire you, but you need to do this as a
condition
contingent of
employment. Our custom fit team has been going out. It's now over 30 employers that say, I want in, I want in, I want in. You'll see us coming forward with similar programs in other areas. We have one that will come in machining. I think we have one in the works for welding as well. We've always had it in healthcare with nursing assistant. You're going to see shorter term certificates that are employer validated that gets them that entry level job. And then the employer has a partnership with us for them to complete the next longer certificate. And then degree pathways at the university if the employee wants, if the employer says, I find that value added. That's the new model, is go to work, have your employer pay, work with the college and the state to pay for the rest of your education, instead of take 4 to 6 to 8 years and then go get a job. And frankly, this is what the employers have been telling us for 5 years, and we're catching up. But we're going to get there. And this is another area that our counterparts are saying, we're watching, we're watching, we're watching. They're fine with us leading the way, and we're happy to do it, because the bottom line is we have students come to us and they say, I don't have a year to get a job. I have to have one right now. We're like, great, let's get you to work.
And employers are coming to us saying, I don't have a year to wait.
That's
Somebody to get trained.
Or a month before.
Yeah.
Or a month.
It's true. 6 months ago, that's what I offered. It was to get a job as a pharmacy tech. I will pay for your school and you'll go to Ogden-Weber Tech, whatever it costs. Got no takers, but that's what we were offering. But yes.
So we're moving the needle. You will see a time, we anticipate that we'll have a new type of instructor. When we talk about hybrid education, a lot of times we think being on campus or being at home, but the college still controls all of it. Even if you're home, we control all the content and all the learning, because we are the only ones that can validate learning, and you can't learn anywhere but with us. There is so much learning that goes on at the workplace. In fact, some of the best learning takes place in the workplace. So you're going to see a Venn diagram at Ogden-Weber Tech's instructional model that includes the employer. And we're going to find, how do we validate their competencies that they're doing with the employer? And we might find out, man, we need to update our competencies, because they're doing some amazing things on the work site that's cutting edge that we need to share with everybody else. That's going to allow students to complete their competency mastery quicker. It's going to be more value added to them. It's going to cost them and the employer less money. And they're going to get a better full rounded student.
They get paid.
They get paid. So it's a modification of a traditional apprenticeship. But we hope that this becomes the model even with degrees moving forward, because we have to shift. In higher education, we cannot be satisfied that 50% of the people that start with intent to get a bachelor's degree never finish it. And of those that stay on, only 41% complete in 4 years. We can't do that. We gotta find a better way. We have to find a better way.
30% of those nationwide are worse off than with just their diploma.
Some college, no credential is very, very expensive. That's bad. So we're excited and we'll continue to share updates with you. I just wanted to let you know a lot of great things that we don't always capture in our reporting is going on here at Ogden-Weber Tech. It's one of the reasons why unemployment is so low, but our enrollments continue to grow because individuals are finding value. And if they have some college, no credential, come here, we'll complete you. We complete you. And we'll put you to work. We complete you.
See the recognition. That's awesome.
So that's everything I
What
have.
was the date of that article in the Salt Lake Tribune? You know, it's okay.
I'll find it
Finish
for
the
you.
meeting and we'll.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion items for today? Someone? Me?
May 2022.
No, that was the report. I'll get the article date.
Oh,
Send that out. Next meeting is August 25th. Before that, a couple days before that is the golf tournament. Long-term horizon is the fall graduation on November 3rd. So with that, we'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you. We don't have to have a second, so. Mark.
Nice
thank you
job,
for,
guys.
Joining with us today.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Nice work. Bye.
It's so exciting. I feel. Bored.
Excited to have you.
I'm in the right